is. Alrighty, great. Yeah, we will talk about nuclear power.
Okay.
All right, let me get just give me your name and spell your last name for it. It's my usual level check. So,
Merritt.
alrighty, great. Okay, and we are coming in three, two, one. Well, as Indiana looks for new energy sources, we're talking about nuclear power. That's right, cadmium control rods and 3 Mile Island for some of you older folks. And joining us as one of the biggest advocates for nuclear power, particularly small modular reactors, talk about those too, is our good friend Jim Merritt. Jim and I known each other forever. We both had more hair and less stomach. So, Jim, my friend, how's it going?
It's going well. It's good to see you, my friend.
Hey, good to be done. It's good to be talking to you. Sans Rob Kendall. So there we go. So.
Yeah.
So help us out here. How does nuclear power fit into Indiana's energy portfolio?
Well, it's interesting. To me, it's interesting. You talked about 3 Mile Island and as well as Fukushima and all these different tragedies. And back in 2008, 7, 8, when I chaired the Utility Committee in the Senate from 2004 all the way to 2020, and I started seeing growth in the nuclear industry, if you will. And as you know, most of Northeast Indiana is powered when they turn the lights on when in the industry, the industrial world makes things, manufactures things. They get all their power from Cook, which is on the shores of Lake Michigan in Michigan. That is the source of power for American Electric Power or Indiana Michigan Power. And so Indiana is not foreign to the use of a reliable source like nuclear power. And whenever I tweet about anything or retweet something, it's safe, reliable, and carbon free. And so the idea of having small modular reactors with BMXT in Evansville, which makes the parts, and now Fanco has moved to the state of Indiana. We're in the heartland, if you will, of nuclear power.
Now, how do small modular reactors work? Because we're used to seeing, the big for this is going to sound really weird, and I normally I don't quote movies, but whether it was the China Syndrome or actually the movie X-Men Origins Wolverine, they got like the big white towers with the smoke coming
Massive,
out, and it's
massive.
really steam is what it is.
Yes.
So
Yeah, small modular reactors and micro reactors are totally different. Most of these reactors, these new fangled reactors, don't need the immense water that, like for instance, Cook needs Lake Michigan, and that is for, as you said, for cooling. They can be buried. They don't need the massive amount of land that is necessary for the old nukes, if you will. And you might have caught in the media, in the news, that they're opening up one of the reactors at 3 Mile Island. And so they're much safer. They're much less harsh on the natural resources. And really the reactors that are today's reactors that are coming on the scene are just much smaller in nature, and it's a different ball game now.
in other words, it's not your father or your grandfather's nuclear reactors anymore.
Exactly. They're much different, much different. And
How
and
has Go ahead.
and and the more we with this Indiana Nuclear Power Association that I've started, the more we advocate, the more we educate, the more we communicate. We don't need to legislate because in the last couple of years, the legislature and the governors have done a good job of laying down a path for the nuclear code, if you will. That sounds kind of funny, but it's been laid out. So it's up to me and others to educate that it is reliable energy, it is safe energy, and it's really it's less impactful on our resources.
Our guest on the program today is a longtime friend of the program, Jim Merritt, former Republican state senator, big advocate of nuclear power. And so we're talking about as energy looks to expand and diversify its energy portfolio, how nuclear fits in all this. Jim, how does nuclear differ from things like coal, which burns a lot cleaner than it used to, but still coal has that sort of that sort of stereotype, that sort of negative connotation to it.
Yes, well, they do have something in common that, and we're trying to beat it back is the negative connotation, the reputation, and we know coal is cleaner. We know we have hundreds of years of coal to burn and fire up all that manufacturing that we do in Indiana, but it is incredibly different. And it's very proud to say that most states right now that want to grow their manufacturing or grow their economic development are lurching towards nuclear power and specifically small modular reactors. And you could for instance, one of the dreams I have is to have an SMR, small modular reactor, on the Crane Naval Base. It's not That's not the correct term for it, but having a crane where there is a lake there, but there's not a necessity of a large amounts of water with the reactors that we're talking about, and as well as the fact that coal has a bad connotation, but there are ways that they are cleaning coal these days. I really feel though that with a nuke, a small modular reactor, it can be attached to the Leap District in Lebanon, or some large manufacturer, a big blast furnace, and you wouldn't have the transportation problems that you do with coal. And it's just the new power source of this century.
Jim, I got to ask you, because we talk about things like leap districts, it also gets into the whole concept of data centers. Can you
Right.
use small modular reactors to actually power data centers and sort of alleviate the electricity, and also do it in a way to mitigate what ratepayers would have to pay?
This will be a part of the new branding of data centers if they do it right. Most data centers will be outfitted so that when small modular reactors in the next 5 years become a part of the scene of powering facilities, most of these, the next generation of data centers, which is coming very, very quickly, you will see a small modular reactor that the data center company, if you will bring in and attach to that. And NVIDIA, for instance, has invented the new nuke, or the new, not nuke, but the new data center that won't have the necessity of water, the need of constant water for cooling. And small modular reactors work in that as well. And thus the data centers will be bringing their own power to the table. And that's what President Trump, that's what Governor Braun and the leaders in local government want, is they want these nukes, these small modular reactors, to be at the table so that there's no question that they're reliable and clean.
Our guest on the program today is our good friend, former Republican State Senator Jim Merritt, nuclear power advocate. And so we're talking about the future of nuclear energy, and also these sort of small modular reactors as a way to help Indiana sort of diversify its energy portfolio. Jim, how do you get past the quote unquote the stereotype and the fear of a small modular reactor? Because I could see right now, people think, okay, you're going to build these nuclear power plants, and everyone's going to turn into the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, a good question. This association, the Indiana Nuclear Power Association, will the advocacy, the education, the communication, that'll be a part of it. But as well as the fact that if we would put a reactor on crane, where you don't have the neighbors, the crane covers or has parts of 6 counties. It is government land. What we need is a model in Indiana to show that it's safe, that it's reliable, that it's green. And I think once we have that, for instance, Rockport, which is down on the Ohio River, and it's AEP, it's an Indiana, Michigan, American Electric Power. They're going to have a natural gas bridge, and then after that, they'll have a small modular reactor. It just takes time to prove to people that it's safe and that it's tomorrow's power, and it's just going to take time to teach people and educate people and grow an understanding that it is safe, that it isn't 3 Mile Island, that it's not Silkwood, it's not Russia, that it can be in your community, and since a lot of them can be buried, you won't even know it's there.
And it's interesting you bring up things like Silkwood, because I remember the movie with Meryl Streep with the wire brush when she's in the shower with getting the nuclear dust off of her. And actually, I remember Chernobyl because I was in high school at the time when that happened, and actually lived in Europe shortly there afterwards. Because I remember the radiation by the time it finally reached the United States was basically like getting an X-ray, is what it was. But at the time, 40 years ago, nobody really knew exactly what it was, what to expect. And it was almost sort of a panic in the sky.
Yes, and it's interesting, Abdul. I'm glad you brought that up because it bears repeating that the Cook plant up in Michigan that feeds thousands and thousands of homes and businesses in Northeast Indiana. No one knows it. That nuclear power is 20% of the power source in the state of Indiana and 20% of the power source of America. And no one knows it because there hasn't been a spill. There hasn't been any type of problem at Cook or the many reactors that are around the country. And so the more we talk about Cook and its safety, its reliability, the more that we can talk about the idea of a nuclear future of the state of Indiana that will even be more hidden because you just won't know that it's in your community.
What about the impact on the environment?
Well, I don't. There's minimal at best. Cook has never had an environmental spill or anything that anybody could worry about. And when you talk about these reactors, these small modular reactors, there won't be, and it will improve the environment because of its clean nature, and there's just no carbon coming off of it. There's no carbon emitted from it, and it's something that everybody ought to be aware of, and it's coming because if we're going to grow, in Indiana we talk about we make and we grow. If we're going to continue to be a manufacturing state where we want people to grow their industries, we're going to have to attach ourselves to a small modular reactor or 5 or 6 in the state.
Jim Merritt with us for a few more minutes on the program today, former state senator, nuclear power advocate. Jim, how big is a small modular reactor? Is it like the size of a football stadium? Is it the size of a house? Is it the size of a city county building? Or the Capitol building? How big is it?
It's relatively small when you're talking about it. When you're I think it probably needs about 25 acres, 35 acres of land, and that's it. You have different SMR models out there, but like I said, you could bury it and not know that it's there. You could have one in downtown Indianapolis, and you wouldn't know it's there. And so it's the Crane Naval Base is about 66,000 acres. It would completely be hidden in a place like that. It would be swallowed up by acreage. So very, very small. It wouldn't be like the Cook plant in Michigan, but it's something that I think that this state really needs.
When we look at nuclear power plants and small modular reactors, what about the permitting process? I know because part of what takes them so long to build is the permitting process to make sure all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, but at the same time, not making the permit process so overburdened that it's not worth doing.
Yes, and we have the Indiana Nuclear Power Association has a great partner in Purdue University, and they understand nuclear power more so than about any university in the Midwest, maybe in the country. And with the Trump administration being in Washington and recognizing Secretary Wright with Department of Energy recognizes that permitting is the incredible it's the elephant in the middle room. And one of the reasons why that people would talk about not having nuclear power in this country for 10 years or 11 years is the cost, number one. But two, more importantly, the permitting at the federal level as well as the local level. And I believe all governments, you've seen Indiana with the track history of legislation in the last couple of years of really kind of knocking down all the hurdles statewise, as well as the Trump administration's doing their very best to knock down unnecessary permitting and roadblocks to nuclear power. And that's really what you need is an administration like the Trump administration for the next couple of years, and hopefully setting sail and helping us get a real start so that a 10 or 11 year period shrinks to 6. That's really the goal, is shrinking that goal, that implementation to 6 years.
Jim, we've got a couple minutes left here before we close up our conversation. One of the things I also noticed in the nuclear power discussion, and I go back to this again, is that fear, that fear of the unknown, like, oh my God, you're gonna have radiation all over the place, in between the radiation from the nuclear power plant and the job losses from the data center. Are we just in a brave new world that we need to embrace change and and really allay people's fears and emotional concerns?
Yeah, it's interesting with anything, any move, any change. It always fear and money always is at the beginning. I wrote a book about COVID, and fear was an enormous player in that time frame, and money was as well. And fear and money are it's my assignment. I gave myself assignment to dispel fear, and whatever integrity and whatever trust that I had built up in my relationships, I want to spread statewide because it is a necessity. And if you look at Fukushima, you had a problem there, obviously, but it didn't mount. Susie Jaworowski, Department of Energy Secretary for Braun, visited Fukushima, and it's fine. And she came away with not a third ear or anything like that, or anything that are the wives' tales for this. And it's just it's something that we're going to have to be very repetition of talking about it, and dispelling that fear. I think the idea of three rivers, or 3 Mile Island, if you will, restarting demonstrates that we have a great plan so that it's reliable and it's safe.
All right. Well, our guest in the room today has been nuclear power advocate, our good friend, former Republican State Senator Jim Merritt, a big nuclear power advocate. So, Jim, my friend, as always, sir, thank you very much for being with us. And this cadmium control rod's for you.
Thank you, Abdul.
All right. Let's do